Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn better and I can learn more effectively as well. In this video, I'm going to go through an idea that I'm calling tactical anticipation, which is a key idea that really separates top challenger players from low challenger players and definitely separates them from the rest of us mere mortals. This is a core idea that's very relevant in chess. It separates people in all domains and aspects of life in terms of what separates the people that are amateurs versus professionals versus the top of the elite. And in this video, I'm going to go through a meta mindset, a psychological, philosophical segment that helps us learn how to get better in TFT and in life with this idea of tactical anticipation that really is the big edge that separates the really elite. I'm going to go through where this idea came from and why I decided to really double click and do a deep dive into this topic, which came as a result of a coaching session with Marcel and some feedback he gave me, the purpose of tactical anticipation, how to really apply it, the key rounds in the game that we can apply these ideas in. And I do a really deep dive into kind of key questions at various aspects of the game around when we can do some tactical anticipation. What are the ways that we can answer these questions and really have a far deeper understanding of the game? The metaphor that Marcel and I used for this is if you can really have perfect tactical anticipation, then you can be like Neo in the Matrix, where he's dodging bullets and he's seeing ones and zeros across the board. And you will have this edge over the competition that others just don't have because you are seeing the playing field 2-3 steps ahead, right? In chess, that means you're thinking maybe 5-10 steps ahead. In a sport like basketball or football, it's kind of like when quarterbacks that are much more mature and have maybe played in the playoffs many times say that the game slows down and they're able to kind of see ahead and predict what's going to happen. And so that's the idea of tactical anticipation that we're going to go into. And then finally, I have a recorded session, coaching session with Marcel, where we apply all of these ideas of tactical anticipation and VOD review a K3 Soju game where we are pausing the video at key points, and each of us, Marcel and I, are independently predicting what will occur with ideally multiple outcomes of priority, and then comparing it to what Soju actually decides to see how accurate we are in that process. And the more we can practice this idea of tactical anticipation, the more it becomes a habit and becomes where we are able to have less stuff surprise us, to be more prepared for anything that might arise within the game, outside of the game as well in our lives. So I'm pretty excited to share this idea with you. I think it's pretty game-changing and a huge edge that you can have over your competition, and just generally a different mindset that can help shift the way you approach the game of TFT and life. So first, I'm going to jump into Marcel's feedback. He said, I think you could benefit a lot from being a bit more proactive with your thought process. This is after he kind of watched me play a game and I was like kind of trying to talk out loud. He said, it's not always that easy when you have all these other things you're also thinking about, but I think sometimes you tend to get a bit frazzled with the time constraints on some of your decisions because you might be approaching them with a more reactive thought process rather than preemptively already having some decisions made. So this was really the starting point of this whole idea of tactical anticipation. He was suggesting that I try practicing thinking 1-2 steps ahead. So sometimes an example of that would be in the round right before carousel, prioritizing like, okay, what component do I want? What units might I want? But he argues take that a step further, like really think about all the possibilities around unit item combinations. How important is it for me to get a pair? What emblem or spatula or pan might it make sense to get? What might my opponents want? And how might that impact whether I want to sacrifice or intentionally lose in the rounds leading up to carousel, right? And I've talked about a lot of these ideas before, but the key idea that Marcel's really driving home with me is that it's one thing to think about these ideas in theory before or after a game, but it's a whole nother thing to be very deliberate about maybe 1 or even 2 rounds before carousel to have this habit of like, okay, round started, the fight began. It's not that important whether I watch the fight in the early game. If I have done that enough, right? That this is again moving up Maslow's hierarchy of needs of like how much is the game slowing down for you, right? But let's say 2 rounds before carousel, like start going through this thought process. Do I want a carry item next? Do I want a tank item next? If I have no open components, what's the most flexible open component that I can pick up? Calculating out how much gold I have and an interest that I will have by the end of carousel to figure out, do I need a 3 cost to be able to hit my next interest threshold? How important is that relative to the other components that I could pick up? And Marcel's point is the more prepared that we are for that carousel round, or this can apply to any other aspect of the game, whether it's augment selection, item slams coming out of neutrals, whether we want to win or lose in advance. If we are going to hit a 2-star, does it make sense to move items? What is a strong 3 or 4 cost naked that I can throw on a board if I happen to see it? What are backup roll down options for unit holders if I miss my desired unit, especially if I'm contested? These are all things that Marcel argues we can be far more proactive in and be anticipating what can occur so that we are mentally prepared. And that way, especially on a round like carousel round, where you have limited time and opponents are competing over the same resources, having that mental preparation can make a huge difference. All right, so with that said, I'm going to jump into the meta mindset of the day, which is preparation is the edge you don't see. If you want to jump ahead into whatever next sections of this video, take a look at the timestamp in the description below. So in chess, this is a key idea that I work on with my son since he's been getting into chess. He actually plays TFT as well, but specifically for chess, we talk about, okay, what is the best move you can make? And then what is the second best move that you can make? And then compare that, right? And then from there, the next level of that I've been urging my son to think about is, okay, don't make the move yet. From the best decision you thought of, what is the next move that you think your opponent will make based off of your move? What's the second best move that you think they can move, and compare the two? Then from there, think about what is the best move that you can make in response to their move, right? And back and forth, right? And this is what top elite chess players are able to do, is think 2, 3, 4, 5 moves ahead, or even more. And that relies on a lot of mental visualization, a lot of practice and preparation that you've done before the game, but also on the spot being willing to go down the rabbit hole of that branch factor and explore that mentally in your own mind using your imagination, and valuing the importance of that, as opposed to sometimes what my son will say is, my brain's going to explode. This is too hard. Like, let's just move and see what happens, right? But when you do that, you're being extremely reactive to your opponent's moves, and that can trip you up. And the difference between someone that's at the really elite chess levels is someone that can do that, and it like is natural to them. My best friend from high school, he was I think ranked top 10 in his age group for when we were in high school, and he and we were on the chess team, and he would we would together try to basically play mental chess. And he would be able to do this way better than me, but we could usually get about 15, 20 moves into a game without a board. We would just be calling out the moves and visualizing it in our heads. And the more that we do that, both in chess, in TFT, and in life, the more mentally prepared we are for the things that other people can't see, but that we can see. And that's all about preparation and tactical anticipation. Gary Kasparov said, he's a chess master, was like at the top of the field for something like 10 plus years. He said, to improve at chess, you must improve your anticipation. David Bronstein said, the most powerful weapon in chess is to have the next move. And like we talked about, it's not only the next move, but the opponent's next move, and your next move, the opponent's next move, right? The more steps ahead you are of your opponents, the more of an advantage you're going to get. Johannes Zuckertort said, chess is the struggle against error. And this is for sure true in TFT. Even at the highest levels of play, even at Worlds, Dish Soap mentions that he still makes plenty of errors, right? And tactical anticipation, this idea of preparation, is one of the most effective ways that you can minimize error. Because if you're able to think ahead and plan ahead as far as, especially when you're under time pressure, like let's say a 4-2 roll down, augment selection, carousel decision, chess is the struggle against error. TFT is the struggle against error. The more we are able to tactically anticipate, to plan ahead, to think about what I want to do 1-2 moves ahead, then because our minds have already prepared for possible outcomes, we are less likely to make an egregious error. For example, we'll see in the VOD review that Marcel and I did that we very clearly missed a scenario where there's a pan on carousel because it happens less frequently, right? So we're less prepared for it. And so there was a game I played where it was a hack carousel with all the emblems, or not the emblems, it's the Tomb of Traits. And I already had in my mind, I wanted to get a specific component. And then once the hack carousel with the Tomb of Traits popped up, there was one with a spat on it. And so I was like trying to compute, like, okay, well, what happens if I pick up that spat? And by the time I had came to the conclusion that it didn't make sense to pick up the spat with the tomb, I had completely forgot my plan around like what was my component priority, and then someone took that from me. And I think that actually cost me 1 or 2 placements in the game, right? So that's a huge error that I made, but part of that was because I was not able to anticipate the possible scenario that was arising, specifically around Spatula and Tomb of Traits. So part of anticipation is just getting more reps in, but the more we can mentally prepare for these edge cases, the fewer errors that we're going to make in the game. Mikhail Tal said, and this is not necessarily exactly about this idea, but I really like this quote, and it somewhat relates to it. He said, you must take your opponent into a deep, dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5, and the path leading out is only wide enough for one. So a key idea here is that you are the one that is introducing complexity. You are creating a game scenario for your opponent, a problem set, a challenge for your opponent that is a deep, dark forest, right? It's confusing, it's complicated, you can get lost in there, and you yourself can get lost in there, right? And you got to figure out how to anticipate, to plan the moves ahead such that you are the one that can come out the other side, the victor. There's only one path out, and it's because you are able to anticipate what's going to happen. You have the next move, you are minimizing your error. Because it is a deep, dark forest, your opponent, if they are less prepared, they are anticipating less, they have prepared less, then you have an edge. You have the foresight and anticipation to be able to get out when your opponent will not be able to figure out a way out. Preparation. General Norman Schwarzkopf said, "The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war." So this is all definitely related to all these ideas on a tactical level within the game of TFT, but this is definitely true in the more macro aspect of TFT and how you get better. So many times I even fall into this trap of, oh, I should just play more games to be able to climb more. I should just act, right? I should just do more stuff. I should just enter the battle. Like my son in chess saying, I just want to make the move. Right? I do chess puzzles with my son, and this is what we practice. I'll suggest like to him, we each come up with what we think is the best move, and he'll offer it without us actually inputting it. And I'll say, okay, what do you think is the opponent's going to do? Because these are not all mate in ones or single move puzzles. They're multi-move puzzles, right? And he just wants to make the move. He wants to jump into war, right? He does not want to sweat in peace. But the problem is, if you don't sweat in peace, you're going to bleed more in war. John F. Kennedy said, "The time to prepare the roof is when the sun is shining." So many times we are reactive, not proactive with the problems in our lives, right? And this has definitely been true as a homeowner. When I first became a homeowner with my wife, it was like so many problems because our first home was really old. It's like a 50-year-old home. It was an Eichler, if you're familiar with it. They were designed to be very aesthetically pleasing, but there's no like crawl space. The pipes, like we had the pipes leaking under the bathroom, and there's no crawl space, so you actually have to tear up the floor. And so, like, if you just wait until there's a problem, you're exacerbating the amount of work that you're going to have to put in compared to just really sweating in peace, preparing the roof when the sun is shining. Bobby Knight, the legendary basketball coach, said, "The will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win." So in TFT, you could say like, yeah, I really want to win this game. But is that really going to help you in the moment compared to, hey, I have the will to prepare to win. I'm willing to put in the work outside of the game. I'm willing to study, to really do these deep dives, VOD reviews. I'm willing to learn from top pros, get coaching, right? When you show the will to prepare, to sweat in peace, to prepare the roof when the sun is shining, then when you are thrown into combat in war, when it's raining, when the storm is here, that's when, related to this next quote by Dave Grossman, in combat, you don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your training. So we can say like, okay, yeah, we'll just go straight into war. But we didn't do the sweat. We didn't sweat in peace. We didn't train hard enough. And so then we just we queue up. We're not ready. We didn't do our preparation. We don't know the meta well. We don't know what are the best item slams. We don't know what are the best broken interactions, right? Like, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to sink to the level of your training, especially when the pressure is on, if you're in a tournament scenario or you're playing against players that are slightly above your skill level, right? Like you're trying to play for a promotion. Maybe you are playing against top challenger players or streamers for the first time. At that point, it's about the preparation, the sweat that you put in, the anticipation that you have prepared, right? That's what's most relevant. And that's for sure just as true in life as it is in TFT. All right, so that's the meta mindset of the day. Preparation is the edge you don't see. And related to that, by the way, is there's a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche that talked about how a lot of people think that genius is some natural talent, some just natural, born with advantage that someone else has over you. But what most people don't see is that these top players in any field, the elite of the elite, they're putting in work. Reminds me of the story of Kobe Bryant, one of the best basketball players that ever played. And he would get up at like 4 in the morning to practice when everyone else was asleep, right? Like that's why I like this image of the sunrise. Everyone else is sleeping, but he's putting in the work. He's preparing when it's peaceful, when the sun is shining. He's the one that's putting in the work. And then when combat war begins, he makes it look easy. He makes it look effortless. And yet you don't see all the times he got up at 4 a.m. in the morning, all the times that in practice he had people hitting him, pushing him, shoving him, putting him into uncomfortable situations, so that when he is confronted with that in war, it appears effortless, so effortless that people think that, oh, it's just easy for that guy, right? But they don't see all the preparation that they put in behind the scenes. And so if you want to become elite at anything in life, the key thing is actually that you're willing to put in the work, to prepare and to mentally do this, really this idea, right? The will to prepare to win, not just the will to win, because that's just putting your words out there. The will to prepare to win, that's where you match your actions with your words, right? Really being able to commit to what you really want, to act upon what you really want, not just to say this is what you really want. All right, so now we're going to get into the actual tactical anticipation, how to apply it to TFT in a very concrete way that you can apply in your own games. And a lot of this is going to be, I'm going to talk about the high-level theory a little bit, and I'm going to go into specific questions that you can ask yourself, that you can ask your friends, you can post in Discord channels, you can post in the comments below. But the idea here is that you should be able to use these ideas yourself, not just relying on someone else. And thinking about these questions, tactically anticipating, will help you get better at the game, and not just outside of the game, but within the game. So the key idea behind the idea of tactical anticipation, going back to like kind of Marcel's feedback, is I was being extremely reactive, and that would cause me to make suboptimal decisions in the moment. So by thinking ahead, I am able to reduce in-game pressure and mistakes by front-loading my processing power by anticipating what's going to happen in the future. One idea that Marcel was actually trying out in his Smurf account was he would predict what was going to happen 1 to 2 rounds ahead, and he would only allow himself to make the decisions that he had predicted. So if he did not make those predictions, he would not actually allow himself to make those moves. And this is an extremely hard way to play the game, but it's like the extreme methodology that in the ideal state, if you were a perfect player, and even Dish Soap can improve at this, is if you were able to perfectly predict what's going to happen in all the branch factor, then there would actually be no difference between you making the move, thinking it in advance, versus making it move in the present. So a big idea here is shifting compute power from now to thinking about the future. So thinking about this turn to thinking about the future. And one of the challenges I've had, and this was a discussion I had with Marcel, is because I'm probably older than most players playing TFT, I have viewed my APM and current turn decision-making as being lacking just by mere like self-bias of my age, that there may have been a subconscious bias that I should be focusing more on this turn as opposed to future planning, both because of my APM like insecurity, and that I view my future planning as being like better, or that I have an advantage in that. And I think Marcel's point from watching me play is actually my current turn APM is actually pretty good. He thinks that I match like top challenger players, maybe in some cases exceed, but so that was surprising to me. And so his argument is that I can especially early game, because I can sacrifice around maybe 10%, 20% of my current turn optimization, like let's say positioning and scouting, to higher impact decisions like what line I'm going to select. And scouting is somewhat related to that, but I was scouting a lot just for current turn, like optimizing board strength. But higher impact decisions like items that are irreversible, right? When you select an item off carousel, augments are irreversible, whether you're going to level or not, what units you hold, making econ, carousel, anvils, and really this idea of what's the most important that's coming up, and know what is most important before the key turns so that it'll help you navigate them. Like there's so many times where, like the example I brought up about the hack carousel with the Tomb of Traits, where I knew in my head, like, okay, I want this order of priorities, but I did not really, in one way of approaching it is I could just repeat over and over in my head, bow, glove, sword, bow, glove, sword is my order priority. And even move down further, as well as like, oh, how important is getting a pair of my like 3 costs, right? And once I was thrown off my game with the carousel, I forgot what was most important. I was thrown off and I forgot. And so the more we are able to kind of predict and tactically anticipate what's most important before those turns, it'll make those turns easier to navigate once maybe something throws us off our game and we need to find our balance again, right? And so this tactical anticipation helps us stay grounded and balanced for situations that may try to shove or throw us off balance. So the key rounds to plan 1 to 2 turns in advance, these are kind of like the big ones that I wanted to really emphasize, though you could think about this for almost anything in the game. But pre-augment selection, specifically 1-4, 3-1, and 4-1. 1-4 like is a little bit less relevant because it's so broad, though there are situations where you can think like, okay, I am likely not strong, so I want econ augment, or I have a bunch of 2 stars, so I want item augment. So there is some preparation that we can do here. I apologize for the noise in the background, that we have cleaners here. Pre-carousel, so thinking about what is the order of components that we want, units, emblems, pre-neutrals. So, or during neutrals, but specifically this is more relevant in like stage 3 neutrals, stage 4 neutrals, where you probably stage 4 neutrals is actually the big one, because not only are you going into a round where maybe you're even doing a 4-1 early roll down because you're contested 3 ways, but you're going to have a lot of item components, item decisions. You likely want to use removers, planning out how many removers you have. Like there's a lot of decisions that you need to make. So the more you're able to plan in advance, let's say on 3-7, think about, okay, I'm missing anti-heal, or I'm missing shred, or my priority is to get a fully itemized carry, or I need more tank items, right? Then the moment you see a glove, you know, oh, should I be using this for a carry, or should I make steadfast heart, right? And amongst the other, 10 other decisions that you need to make on this massive turn where you're going to do a roll down and you need a position and itemize, that tactical anticipation really helps you mentally prepare. Just in general, every round, what's your strongest board? What's your next in? If you get a 2-star unit, is it worth burning an item remover? Right? All right, so now I'm going to get into the more specific questions that we can ask on these rounds. So item or augment selection. So this is going to be the round before augment selection, or maybe even 2 rounds before. What category of augments do I need? Do I need item, econ, combat? How contested am I? If the more contested I am, the more I'm going to lean towards econ. For example, on 4-1, if I'm contested 3 ways for brand, getting reinforcement is going to be extremely valuable, right? So thinking about that in advance so that you can click quickly, make decision quickly, and roll down quickly on 4-2 is extremely important. That in and of itself could be the difference in 1 to 2 placements, like how fast you can make that decision. How likely can I streak? This is more relevant in 2-1. If you have a bunch of 2-stars, you want to magnify the strength of your board. Well, items are the best way to do that early. Or let's say you're on stage 3-2 or even 4-2 and you're short on items and you have a bunch of 3-stars. Well, items are going to be the ones that are going to be able to help you increase the power of your board the most. On 4-2, oftentimes you say, am I lacking combat augments? Well, if I am, then combat is probably good. Should I slam items that may be affected by an augment? For example, here on stream, players like Dish Soap can say like, oh, I have open glove. I should not slam this right now because I might be able to get lucky gloves next, right? Being able to predict 1 or 2 turns in advance amongst the possible options that could occur can make a huge difference in the outcome of your game. So before roll downs, specifically, usually this is going to be 3-2 for like 2-cost reroll, 4-2 for fast 8. How contested I am. So this part of this relies on scouting. So you might need to scout 1 or 2 turns before these big roll down turns. How deep am I willing to roll? So this is related to how much HP I have, how contested am I, when do I stop rolling, what do I need to hit to stabilize? If this is a 2-cost reroll or 3-cost reroll, like if I have more HP, I'm willing to stop rolling earlier. If I'm contested, I probably want to roll deeper. So there's a lot of key questions that we want to ask ourselves in advance so that when the moment arises, we're not wondering like, oh, what should I do now, right? Because not only on the roll down turn do you need to actually execute the roll down, and furthermore for 4-2, you need to make the augment selection and do the roll down, but likely you also need to reposition, you need to item remover, you need to itemize. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So the more you are able to tactically anticipate what's going to happen, the fewer errors that we're going to make. When do I want to be strong? For 2-cost reroll, you usually want to be strong on 3-2 because that's when you want to preserve HP, put pressure on the lobby, generate gold from being able to hopefully streak. And if your cap isn't that high, then that's how you get a top 4, right? How much HP do I have? How does that influence these decisions? What's my cap relative to the lobby? If I have a really high cap, then maybe I'm willing to sacrifice some HP in the short term. What is the order of priority on my roll down between all the things I need to do? Quality of augment selection, making the actual roll down. Let's say I have trade tracker, right? Like, well, I have, maybe I'm trying to cash out trade tracker on 4-1. I'm doing a roll down and I have item anvils that I need to open. What if I have a bunch of item components? How important is it to slam items, right? If it's trade tracker, and I made a video about this in the past, I actually don't care about the items. I'm not trying to slam. I'm not trying to be strong right now. I want the order of priorities is to do the roll down to cash out my trade tracker, right? And so often, if we don't anticipate these ideas in the past, then when it comes up, we might just get thrown off and start going down this path that's completely unimportant. Like I was trying to open item anvils and I didn't cash out my trade tracker and I got completely like rolled over in stage 4. And so, yeah, am I flexing multiple lines? If so, which ones? When do I commit? This is more relevant in a more balanced meta where you can actually flex multiple 4-cost lines. But in this situation, knowing, okay, when do I commit to one line over the other? When do I sell off the other line? When do I continue to hold, right? When do I stop rolling? So there's so many questions that we can ask ourselves. And part of this is not just the preparation that you do in the game, but it's the preparation that you do outside of the game. This is related to the talk that Deepe put together from 1 or 2 videos ago, where he's talking about your ability to study outside the game should be at least 50% of the time that you devote to this game if your goal is to truly get better. And that preparation, it's turtles all the way down. It's preparation, not just tactically anticipating within the game, it is the preparation that you're doing outside of the game that allows you to tactically anticipate better within the game. Carousels. What's my item component priority? Who do I want to itemize next? If I have no open item components, what next component gives me the most flexibility? How does it align with the strategy of my board, right? Like let's say I'm playing TF reroll and I already have Rage Blade slammed. part of this is like, how is my balance of front and back line? Because if you have Rage Blade or Archangel slammed, you probably want to have a stronger front line to be able to scale that Rage Blade. And that front line is going to be more important than getting more backline items. How important is gold value from Carousel? How poor am I? What units am I willing to prioritize over item components? And what I didn't mention here is pairs. Pairs, especially 3-cost pairs, are extremely important. Or if we're playing reroll, your desired reroll units, how valuable is that? Or whether you're contested. This is a big one that Marcel and I missed regularly, especially if it's like your desired pair or reroll unit with maybe your second or third item component priority. Like the more you're able to prepare and anticipate that, the better of a decision you're going to make in the moment. Especially if you are matched in item carousel or carousel with someone that is contesting you, right? Like you need to make that decision with speed. What core item components am I missing? So if you're playing towards like Vex or Zeri, like you need Rage Blade or blue buff, right? And so that's like pretty straightforward, but yeah. Am I willing to pick a component and not slam? If so, which components would fall under that category? Usually you do want to pick a component that you want to slam. And so the scenario that this would arise is if you are like playing a comp that has a high cap and you are, or maybe you streaked early game, so you're really healthy and you can afford to greed. What components do my opponents want? So this requires scouting in advance. How valuable is it to grief them, especially if we're contested, or maybe this is the Golem encounter where someone can play for a 10 Anima or 10 Street Demon angle and they have a spatula, right? Like, well, if I'm playing for first, I have the top comp or top likely cap, except for someone else that could cap higher, maybe it's worth it for me to grief them. How important are certain units for me? So pairs, maybe I will really want Cypher, right? How much do my opponents want Cypher? Is it worth intentionally losing to get better carousel priority if I'm contested or I really need core item components that I'm missing? So those are all carousels. Utility. So this is anti-heal, shred. I fall into this a lot where I'll either forget that I need utility for one dimension, or I'll forget that I already have utility, and then I see utility in the moment, and I'm like, oh, I need shred, and I'll pick it, and I get back to my board, and I'll be like, wait, I already have shred, right? So that's where, for carousel especially, the more, and this is true for me for like neutral anvils as well, because I think what usually happens for me is I'll remember I have shred, then I'll get to the turn where I'm trying to pop anvil, but I'm also trying to do a roll down. So I first did a roll down, I first do a bunch of other stuff, then I pop the anvil and I'm trying to go make a really fast move. I completely forgot that I have shred, and I even made a mental note to myself. So part of that for me is I'm tactically anticipating, but maybe I need to reinforce that. I'll just say over and over in my mind, like, I do not need shred, I do not need shred, I do not need shred, I need a third carry item, I need a third carry item, I need a third carry item, right? Like reinforce that in my mind before it happens, before I'm thrown off my game because of X, Y, and Z other things that I need to do. Are there utility units that can temporarily cover me? So like Renekton can be anti-heal, or Jhin can be shred. So like knowing what those utility units are in the first place and doing your preparation outside of the game, right? If I find a utility unit, are they worth playing? If so, who would I take out? And part of this is related to strongest board, which is who is my weakest unit at any time? Who is my next in? If I get a stronger unit, who do I take out? And how do I better balance my frontline and backline? Do I need more frontline or backline items as my next slam? And what units would help me better balance? Even amongst my bench, my shop, like a lot of times for top challenger players, they're able to really leverage naked 4 costs, naked 3 costs, naked 5 costs, no synergy, just because it's a stronger unit than whatever trait we have on our board, but like a 1 cost. That's not even a 2-star. But Marcel's point here is that you actually try to predict what you might get the previous turn that you can put on. That way, especially if you know who your weakest unit is ahead of time, you see a stronger unit in the shop, you don't have to do that mental calculation dynamically in the moment. You already calculated it in advance, right? Because you were anticipating it occurring. Item slams after neutral. What items do I want to build going into the next stage? We kind of talked about these. A big one actually is, how can I plan for remover usage after neutrals? Do I need to remover before next round start? How part of this is like, how many core items do I have? And if I'm like kind of slamming to preserve streak and my items are kind of all spread out awkwardly, then maybe I can greed more and not use all the removers, right? So the more I'm able to plan that in advance, the better prepared I'm going to be. Next in on level, we talked about that. What units should I look for in shop naked 4 or 5 costs that are better than my current next in? Anvil choices after neutral. This is for late game. What's the optimal distribution of my items between front, back line? Do I want to get a second or third carry as opposed to a secondary off tank? Is it worth using removers? When is it worth using removers? Who is my main competition? What's my cap? What anvil options would I consider to redistribute items? So this is related to, and we actually go through this in a VOD review where, let's say you have 3 item carry, secondary carry, and you're actually trying to make third carry. But you could actually move items from the secondary carry to the third carry and then pick a better anvil item for this carry or for this carry, but maybe you need to like move 3 times. And so that really depends on how many item removers you have and how many item removers you need in the future, right? And so the more you're able to prepare for that before you even pop the anvil, the more speed you'll be able to, and quality of the decision that you'll be able to make when it comes time to do that, especially if you have other things that you need to be doing as well, like a roll down. If I don't hit my ideal item, what's my backup? What's my second backup? What's the category of item that I want, right? Whether it's just like an AD damage item versus a utility item versus a tank item versus a generic item like GS or Guardbreaker that can be flexible across units if I have a lot of removers, right? So thinking about all of that, especially in the scenario where you miss on your ideal, because so a lot of times it's pretty straightforward what's the ideal that you want, but thinking about what's my backup, second backup, can really help you be mentally prepared and anticipate what's going to happen. Late game positioning against a known opponent. So this is usually when it gets down to maybe 3 players left and you are aware of who you're going to play. That's where scouting in advance, maybe scouting like how they're moving their units last second, to see if there's any positioning patterns that they have. Understanding how the comps work, how your comp works, how their comp works, and what needs to happen for you to win the fight against them specifically. So like if you have a Sejuani or they have a Sejuani, understanding where to place the Sejuani on the fight and trying to anticipate their move in advance based off of their historical pattern. And how do I confuse my opponent in the initial versus final positioning? So when it does get down to the final battles, at the start of the round, if you were anticipating it in advance, you can quickly move your units to a suboptimal placement to trick them, or maybe to the optimal placement, and then you're doing some last minute like moving around to throw them off guard, right? And trying to be unpredictable in that so that you can, again, this is related to the chess quote, right? Like, you must take your opponent into a deep dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5 and the path leading out is only wide enough for 1. So if you are able to set up your positioning to confuse them, and then you have the path out, right? And the more you are able to anticipate what they're doing, and also thinking about how they're anticipating what you are going to do, because sometimes you could just not move at all, right? Preserving streak. Am I willing to level off interval to preserve streak? So this can happen on neutrals during end of stage 2, going into 3-1. Start scouting your opponents, how strong they are, how rich you are, what's the risk versus reward for preserving streak. And part of that involves scouting the rest of the lobby to see how strong they are, how likely they are to roll on 3-2, because it's oftentimes only worth leveling on 3-1 to preserve streak if you can win that round plus more rounds in the future, which is not just scouting your current opponent, but scouting the rest of the lobby. How likely will I be able to continue streak? And I talked about that. If I win this round, is it worth rolling on streak if I hit pairs in my next shop? So again, anticipating in advance. So many times I come across this scenario where I level, maybe I even roll, and I don't think in advance, like how deep am I willing to roll? If I find pairs, am I willing to roll further? So on and so forth. On encounters with variable resources like loot sub or gold sub, thinking of in advance about what if I get an artifact? What if I get a spatula? What if I get items going into the next first round of the next stage, right? Or loot sub, like if I get gold, should I level on 3-1? How healthy am I, right? Am I on streak, etc. So these are all key questions that you can ask yourself that should be able to help you get better at the game, both within the game and out of the game if you're VOD reviewing. And with all that said, I will then go into the VOD review practice that I did with Marcel. We VOD reviewed Soju. I took some notes on it. And I'll include a link to this page, my notes, in the description below. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, feedback in the comments below. This will actually be a 2-part video, maybe even multi-part video, because I did this VOD review practice on Soju with Marcel, but then we did some live game coaching as well, where we tried to put these ideas into practice. But it's probably too long for me to put into one video. So I'm going to do this as a multi-part series as well. Thanks again for watching up to this point, and I hope you enjoy this coaching session with Marcel. I guess before we dive into VOD, maybe we can go over high level the doc I put together. I think the main thing I wanted to review with you, well, one is like whether I missed anything, and then two is like kind of prioritizing which kind of areas to really focus on. I think that's true, probably true for both for like VOD reviewing, because this is a lot of stuff. And then also specifically for when I am trying to be more deliberate about practicing this during game, like I think trying to do everything might be too much, but like having a key, like maybe 2 to 3 key focus areas that I really focus on, and like kind of trying to figure out which ones to prioritize.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of, we can go through your doc as well, but just off the top of my head, I think from seeing your games and potentially what could be good improvement points, one big emphasis I think will be items. So try to anticipate. So I think it, on the one hand, you can try and be as specific as possible with planning and go through like every single iteration of 3 components you could drop on neutrals, but I think that would be way too comprehensive, right? Like where you say, okay, if I drop sword, bow, cloak, what am I slamming? If I drop sword, bow, tier, what am I slamming? If I drop sword, like you go through every iteration and that'd be way too much time. But if we did like a rough, like, okay, if I drop 2 frontline items and 2 backline items, what am I doing in my items on the next stage? With anvils, I think the biggest one, which is easy to do without going through every iteration, is if I don't hit chain. Let's say you know what you want off of an anvil, specifically on like 4-7, right? But if let's say you want a vow and there's a tier, you ask yourself, well, what if I don't hit chain? What's my backup, right? And you already have that as a plan. You can even go doubly, like if I miss chain and bow, what is my third backup, right? For example, if those are the 2 components you want to hit, and already have that in mind before the round goes, right? That's a big one. I'm trying to think through other points that I think loot sub is another really big one. Which can, I mean, it's not every game that you have loot sub, but like there are many portals where you get some variable amount of things on the first round of each stage, right? There's a gold sub is depending on how much gold you get, you change your plan. So loot sub it's a little more open ended because that could be artifact, but it's still useful to say, well, if I ever get artifact, what am I going to do? If I get a spat, what am I going to do? If I get items, what am I going to do? If I get X gold, am I going to level early or not level? And already have that sort of as a habit that you do that, right? Every time that could come up. And then probably one more area of focus could be because we obviously don't have too many carousels. I think it's not too uncommon for myself as well. I've seen in both of our games where we'll like have a plan in mind and then we don't get that, and then we get like the not ideal component or unit. And so having in mind, very specific things, right? Or if it's let's say you really want either rod or tier. If it's a 3-cost rod, am I taking this? If it's a 2-cost tier, am I taking the 3-cost rod or the 2-cost tier? What if it's a tier on a unit that you want? What if it's on an upgrade? What if they have like a Morgana pair and it has a tier, but it's a 1-cost, but it's a pair that gives you a 2-star? Are you going to take that, right? And if you're planned for that, you're never going to trip up if you already have it in mind before the round goes. And this is not something that's like we're coming up with on the fly, right? If you watch a lot of really good streamers, they'll say this beforehand. Dish Show being a really good one, especially with augments, like where he won't slam his gloves on like 3-1 because but what if I get lucky gloves on 3-2, right? Yeah, Soju's also very good at that. So augments, I think we should also do, but yeah, I guess I would say priorities are like anvils, carousels. If we have a loot sub game, it'd be fun to go. I don't know if we'll have one to review, but and then augments. I guess are like the most like things to put most emphasis on. But I think when we're doing the drill, we could just do it on every turn and basically on as many things as possible, and then we'll see. It may take a lot of time, at least in the first iteration, and we'll see what we find useful and not useful, and we can try to adjust, I guess, how detailed we want to be about it.
Okay, sounds good. You want to pull up a VOD then, and then we can do your suggestion where we each like write down before each turn.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pull up.
I think I'm probably just gonna keep using this Rome page I have.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, what I'm thinking is we come up with our own solution, give ourselves like, let's say, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to like make our decisions for what we do on the next turn, and then we compare our answers, and then we look at what actually happened on that turn. Not to say that that's what is the optimal thing, but just to see, did we miss anything, and to compare subjectively, of course, like what we think would have been a better decision.
Okay.
Pull up Soju game here on okay, and maybe we can start on like, I think stage 1 is a little too early to be doing preemptive planning, but we can do it starting like
Maybe
2-1 augment. Maybe 2-1 augment.
Okay.
Uh,
Or even
and
like
for the augment,
1-4 to predict 2-1 augment, like kind of category of augment.
yeah, exactly. I think 1-4 predicting what kind of augments are we wanting to take, and we don't. You can be specific, but I think ideally, like, make it more broad. Like, oh, I'm willing to take econ augment. I want to take this type of augment, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Can you see the game?
Yep.
Okay. Let me pull up a doc as well, so I can write my answers. And let's limit ourselves first to like minute, and then we'll see how we do with that.
Okay, I don't.
2-star 2-cost.
Okay, hold on. Start fucking 2-cost one.
Actually pretty good, so we can start planning around like this unit. Okay, let me mute him so not too much yapping. We'll jump to 1-4. We'll see all our drops, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're gonna predict, like, actually there's a lot of things to predict here. It's like augment, do we level, item slams.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically just
I guess
all decisions.
Item slam. Let's go with like item slams. And let's focus on augments, I guess. Augment, and then maybe item slam, and maybe level, but yeah. Okay. Let's do our timer of. Do we have a? Let me have a Google timer right here. Give me 1 sec. Of well, 1 minute. Yeah, is 1 minute good?
Yeah.
And I'll start it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
See what we got. Yeah, you want to lead us off for what you thought, what things you
Sure.
thought could be good as far as augments and like decisions next stage?
So basically, I'm thinking Vayne reroll. Cat 5 would probably be the like literal best thing we could get. Econ would be good, like too much value to try to do reroll Vayne. Buried treasures, like items to take advantage of the fact that we have a 2-star Vayne.
Yeah.
Did I mention econ? So like too much value, like just reroll augments that can possibly help us hit. I guess part of it is we didn't really scout to see if someone else is playing like. I assume someone else is playing TF, but if there weren't someone else playing TF, like hitting Jarvan 3 would probably be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of high level what I got.
Okay. I'm trying to think through. I can talk about stuff I mentioned, then we can look at the next round and then see what the kind of stuff we missed. But off the top of my head, those all sound like good answers. I'm trying to think through like I guess what real augments though would you think to get, like prismatic ticket, I guess, or because I feel like I wouldn't be willing to take Star Unite here, for example. I feel like Star Unite is so bad now because all the real lines are like are 3-cost, 2-cost hybrids. Would you be
Yeah.
willing to
Yeah, I guess it's really too much value.
I think too much value could be good here for sure because you already have the Vayne Skarner. I think that'd be the main one. I actually didn't have that as an answer, so I think I missed that. But
Okay.
So stuff I mentioned were Runan's augment could be very good here. 1-2-1. All that shimmers I think would be insanely good. You play. I think picking up this TF I think is mandatory because you could still play TF here in case no one is TF, just in case no one has the TF 2-cost. Right, there's some chances,
Yeah.
and then you can play all that shimmers into TF. Vanguard augment into like just because I know that the stats on that are good because of more dog saying it in a video. So maybe that one's actually takeable. We have 4 Vanguard, right? That's whatever it's called, Shell. I forget what it's called. It's not amazing, but that's like potentially takeable. I think Portable Forge. I don't know if you mentioned. I think Portable Forge here could be very good as well.
For the same reason as all that shimmers.
Yes, and also like TF has insane Forge items. Well, it's also a low item portal, right? It's only 2 items, and I think generally getting more items in that, those are good. Those portals are good. You didn't mention items in general, so maybe you like generally covered Forge in that sense.
Yeah.
I think combat here is not even that bad either because we have gold already. So I'd be willing to take some forms of combat potentially. Clockwork Accelerator, maybe. Component augments, I said that as well. I said generally we want to be strong, and then a whole TF in case you hit like a TF augment. Was this stuff I mentioned?
How many 2-costs are there? There's like 12, 13.
Like good question. You're saying in terms of odds or
yeah,
stuff.
odds are someone. I mean, generally, if we're in this spot, we probably would have scouted, but I assume someone has
13.
TF. 13.
13.
Okay.
13
so
cost. Yeah.
8 out of.
I don't know if people can get duplicates. I assume
no,
they can't.
I
get
don't think
duplicates.
so. Yeah. Okay.
And someone gets Darius, they could also be leading TF, right?
Yeah.
With both. So let's see if there's anything. Let's see what he takes. Interestingly, I actually thought of this, but I don't even think this is a good augment. So I wouldn't even take this.
Replication could be good. This item we talked about.
We covered this as far as items go. I wouldn't mind it. Let's see what he says. Actually, I'll be curious as well to see.
Replication, lethal rerouting. I mean, I could just go lethal rerouting and just commit to fucking Slayers. I don't even think it's bad.
Oh, interesting. I think it's not that good. But
is there anything I can go for replication?
It'd be sword, right? Is what you want most here.
I mean, if there's no Vanguard Marksman player, I might just play Vanguard Marksman and call it a day.
Let's see scout. Let's see the rolls, and then
TF.
Yeah, definitely a TF player, Vagar player. That guy looked like he is Vanguard Marksman. I didn't mention this. I didn't think of this. Did you think of this?
No, we are on gold start, and then the Vanguard skill well with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is not bad. You could play this into Slayer. You just commit these units. I didn't think of this. We already missed one.
Yeah, I just play Vayne. Fuck it. I'm down. I'm actually down. Fuck
Ha! See, this is what I was predicting. We're gonna miss a fuck ton of stuff, and this is actually a big one.
And
I think this could be really. What's up?
It would probably be way worse if we didn't have the Jarvan, right? Like that's pretty key.
Oh, for sure. You like. I think a big part of it is you have 3 super key units here, right? These three units all go in your Slayer board. Okay. Do we think there's something to predict in like these next couple of rounds? I feel like not really. We can like save time and you want to do carousel? I feel like these ones are like
let's jump.
pretty menial things, right? Okay, doesn't slam.
15 gold.
Okay, shall we do a carousel here? He's lost win.
Okay, we're.
I'll give ourselves some time to think of.
Yeah.
What do you do? I don't think we need a full minute, so we can just say when we're done.
Are you doing like literal prioritization of all components or like top 3 or 4?
Just like not all components, just like a general, like top 3 kind of things. Yeah, I think I'm about good, but no rush though.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Okay. So my mentions for these are, I think first pick would have to be Pan, if available, and then after Pan would be Rod for any Pan any cost, and then Rod any cost is what I'd be willing to take, like 1 through 3 cost, and then Jarvan any item is my pick after Rod, and then Belt for Even Shroud, and then Bow. I don't know if I'd slam red buff, but that's my thinking. But yeah, I think it's just an exercise in trying to be as comprehensive as possible without like being too like insane. I think this one wasn't too, just in general. Where did you get to for yours?
I got Rod, then Sword, then actually I think basically my prio is just damage because we want to prio ideally 3 item Vayne by stage 3 start. If I don't know if that's possible, but like for sure by stage 3 carousel. So I'm thinking non-tank component. I did not think about prioritizing Jarvan any item. And I guess along those lines, like Vayne with a vest maybe okay for Jarvan Slam or belt, I guess. I also do not include belt. So I need it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, my thinking for belt is it's Even Shroud, which is basically also damage, right, for your board, and then which is why I had it as second, because it's a Jarvan item which is good, and then it basically is like a Vayne damage item to some extent. It's a team wide damage item, I guess. I do agree that it would be nice to get 3 item Vayne. But I don't know if I'd really prioritize sword because I feel like there aren't many sword items you even want on Vayne.
I guess when I'm thinking about sword item, it's like you could slam DB, you could slam GS, and then eventually move it over to Senna or
yeah, that's true for sure. I think sword could definitely is reasonable as well. I think bow is slightly better than sword personally as like your backup component after Rod for a damage, but I think it's not like way far ahead of sword, and it's pretty similar. I think it'd be useful to like mention like costs. Like if you had a 3 cost, 1 cost, I just like add a caveat of cost into your anticipation, because it's possible that you get surprised that there's a 1 cost Rod and a 3 cost sword, and then you stumble right, on your carousel pick. Whereas if you have it in mind, like, okay, I'll take Rod of literally any cost, you're not going to stumble. As soon as you see the Rod, you're going to take it, right? Or if your caveat is rod up to 2 cost, right? Then you still won't stumble based on what happens.
I wrote down unit gold value not that important because we are at 17 gold, and like if we win, we get what, 5 plus 2, 7. Like either way, we're like kind of stuck in the middle of 20s, which won't really make any breakpoints. And
yeah, I agree. In that regard,
assuming we can slam an item, like that's probably more valuable to preserve gold streak than like gold value of the unit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You are factoring cost to some extent for sure. Yeah. Already. Yeah, I think being very specific about it could be helpful to like really like. Yeah, but yeah, sounds like you're already on the same page. Cool.
But
Let's see what he sees and takes.
Leona, next shop.
What about if we saw spat without
Oh, not pan.
Yeah.
I didn't have that in my in my planning. I don't know if I take spat here. I feel like it's too slow in my mind. Like, at least Slayer you can slam and you can get the quick 4 Slayer, 6 Slayer. I feel like with spat, what did we make? I guess eventually you get the Divinicor. It's like the next worst one, but then you're killing a bow. I feel like it's hard to justify taking spat without a Reforger.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
He's a Senna with bow.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure now I'm not.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll take this. We missed this.
Yeah.
I feel like I would take this over belt. I'll take rod first and then this. You think, is that what you think as well?
Yes,
or would you take this?
I would take rod above all. I think I would have even taken rod above pan. But I guess 4 Slayer is that valuable?
I think it gets you to 6 Slayer on 6/7, which is really nice.
And you want to roll on 7.
Yeah. Would you? And then after that, would you take Senna second? I think I would take Senna second.
Yeah, rod, Senna, and then I would have taken sword, and I think you would take belt, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily. Yeah, neither of us are wrong in that scenario. I think what we are wrong on, and that was we didn't plan around seeing a Senna with a good component, which we should be planning around. But now we'd stumble a little here, right? If we're first pick, and someone has like a what is that, the augment where they get to pick before you, and like there's a rush to pick the item, we're potentially fucked, right? Because we didn't plan around Senna bow.
Yeah.
So there's something to keep in mind. We have a slight hole in our like planning around like the 3 cost, right? The 3 cost that we want with a component, which is a very like common category, right? Good unit, good component.
I have a good feeling about this one.
So let's see what he.
Okay, so now we have the sword and belt options open.
Yeah, looks like he likes your pick more than mine. Yeah, cool. So he's sword.
Sword is fine. If anything, I could win you the game.
Okay. Let's see if this spot looks like there's anything interesting to predict for next round.
But
I don't think so, right? No.
No.
You down to skip to PvE?
Yeah.
Or like to 2-6.
Do we want to predict what item component drops might occur, or just
post?
Like, I guess what I'm wondering is how much would it even make sense at this point to predict neutral drops so that we're planning ahead how we might want to slam items on 3-1, or
I guess my thinking is that on 3-1 we're typically not like losing. I don't think you nor I like really stumble on 3-1 based on our item drops such that we're like losing a round of APM. So probably, do you think we're okay with like glossing passes?
So I think I agree with that. I would say I do stumble a lot on 4-1 because 3-7 drops a lot, and then a lot of times I have to decide whether to remove her as well.
Yeah, I think 4-1 is super useful. It's gonna be a lot of work. I feel like this will also be a lot of work, but not as fruitful because I mean, who really stumbles that much on? It's like only like an 8 component anvil or drop. I mean, like let's just skip this. Yeah.
Like, what's it called? 40, right?
I mean, we can. Yeah, let's just skip this. Let's just focus entirely on
Please.
It looks like he's. Oh, I guess he's forced to play Slayer. He's forced
should we go back?
Oh, you're doing augment.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry, I was jumping ahead of carousel. My bad. Let's do augment.
Adaptive. No.
Okay. So.
Okay.
Oh no.
Does he make adaptive? Okay, let's just see all full information. This is what we have. Okay.
All right, so we're doing augment predictions.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me start the timer.
Wait,
No,
by the way, we should also keep in mind the augment tree, right? Like I don't usually think about that. Do you?
I don't either. So yeah, we probably should, but I guess at the moment I don't know the odds for what he can see now. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do like minute 30, I guess. Let's see if we need it. Okay, we're basically out of time. 2, 1.
Okay.
You want to lead us off?
Yeah. So I think generally at this point, I would still prefer items and possibly gold. Specifically heroic grab bag for gold, just because we want to be able to stay above 50 while still rolling, which means that it's hard for us to like really stabilize unless we get more gold of some form. So I was
Yeah,
about to throw in
agreed for
like
sure.
epic. And then item wise, like because we're likely rolling for Vein 3, ideally we're rolling for Vein 3, Senna 3, Jarvan 3, and
Yeah,
Z2. So
Zed.
like we
You want to
just
itemize
need way more
everyone.
items. Yeah.
Agreed,
So
agreed.
like Sword Overflow, Cat 5 could still be okay. Buried
Mhm.
Treasure is like not so great, but given that we have investment strategy, which is kind of like a delayed power augment anyway, like getting more
Yeah,
just delayed items is like okay. Plus our front line's like not that great anyway. And we're not going to be rolling that aggressively given that we want investment strategy value. So like delayed item value seems okay. And
yeah,
I would prioritize combat last just because like we're not gonna have fully itemized units. We value the gold. But if we did do
yeah.
combat, the ones that came to mind are like LDP, bulky, cyber implants, mentorship. I was like trying to go through a list of like more combat, but I ran out of time.
Yeah, actually not that much time, but just it's just funny because we have way less than that in a real game. But yeah, we're mostly on basically the same page. I mentioned reroll augments and econ augments first, um, just because exactly what you're saying. Having investment strategy. I didn't even list specific ones. I do think grab bag would be very good. Under item augments, I mentioned the exact two prismatic ones you mentioned. Berry treasures. I actually think berry treasures is good here, and then and sword overflow. Also, obviously being good with Slayers. Also, it's cheating because we jumped ahead one
Yeah.
slide and saw it was prismatic, so it was top of mind. I think I still would have thought it's sort of regardless, but yeah, still some cheating there. And then I also mentioned I think combat augments, while I agree, are third prio. I think econ reroll is first prio, item augment second prio. I think the really good combat augments are potentially like good are reasonable prio. The really good ones, the ones I thought of being bulky buddies, and Spirit Link being
Hmm.
the other one that's like really really good because we're gonna have basically any HP scaling because we're gonna have insane HP, right? I think you could potentially
Oh
just win the
yeah.
game outright if you're Spirit Link and investment strategy. You could just win because your whole board is unkillable by stage 5, stage 6.
Okay.
Um,
It specifically LDP seems broken in this line too because the Senna Vayne interaction.
I think it's good, but it doesn't really scale with our augment, nor are we even guaranteed to have items. I'd be a little concerned with
Okay, like whether
with
you could fully
LDP.
itemize all of them. Okay.
Yeah, you have guaranteed to get value out of HP scaling combat. I feel like LDP could be really slow. Like if we drop non-backline items on carousel and neutrals, I feel like that augment's dead for a really long time. But
Okay.
yeah, I would put that under like really good, super late scaling augment. Which in this spot, I feel like I'd be a little concerned taking. Yeah, let's see if we get surprised by anything on.
I better win this round.
Oh, I guess we mentioned reroll and econ. So I guess think fast is covered under that. I assume. Yeah. Okay. So because think fast would be insane here as well. You get really poor though, but you could econ up after.
If you got think fast, we would level before we roll, right?
Definitely. Roll. You can't. I ideally roll in 7, but there's not enough gold.
Yeah.
You just roll in 6.
The
Roll
thing
in 6
is,
and find as many copies
you
of Senna.
level, I guess you should have enough to hit Vein 3, but you just like are gonna be really poor. You're just gonna have like no gold after you roll.
Yeah. You'll find as many Sennas and J4s as you have, then you'll be straight 0 gold.
Yeah.
I think it's still worth taking personally, but it's not as good as Think Fast on 4-2 for sure.
Wait, actually, with investment strategy, I don't know. Is it really worth? Because then you're just completely sacking that value.
Oh, you'll get it. I mean, I think you lose like a few rounds of it, but I agree with you that it potentially doesn't sound as good. But what is good about it is you stabilize your whole board, and you are Vein 3, which is like there's certainly some amount of gold. If I told you you're straight 0 gold, but I give you 500 golds worth on 4-1, you would definitely take it, right?
500. Yeah. So you're not
Like,
gonna
and so like, I guess my point is there's some threshold of gold value I could give you in the long run, such that you'd be willing to go 0 gold with investment strategy.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if Think Fast truly meets that threshold, but I think it's definitely like some potentially an option.
Mm-hmm.
I think this augment's so bad now with only 2. This one is like doesn't fit our combat description, right?
Yeah.
Lucky gloves.
It's probably middle out of these.
Trifecta. I mean, trifecta is actually good. Except only have 2-3 costs.
I don't think it's that amazing in this spot.
Right? Jarvan and Senna, that's it. I mean, Sword Overflow is... Alright, low-key, Sword Overflow is actually fine.
I don't think it's low-key. I'm surprised he's saying low-key.
How much attack speed is it? 25?
Probably doesn't play
like
Slayer
so.
that
I'm not
much.
thinking no bulk.
Maybe. It has to be this. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's do carousel next. I assume here...
Would have been more fun if we predicted that independently of seeing
Independently of seeing it. Yeah, my bad. Jump ahead.
No, I know.
I assume it's just DB on like 1 DB Vayne, 2 DB Senna. You don't slam GS, I assume.
Do you want Greed, Rageblade?
Rageblade, yeah, I think so.
This BS is probably just gonna be a BT or something. Fine.
Okay, let's do
I'll allow it.
Yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if I make it to my cap,
like one thing potentially worth thinking here is if you get Senna too, will you transfer items? But I mean, it's fine. It's not that big a deal.
I'm gonna have 3 of them Senna, 3 of them Vayne, 3 of them. I don't know if I'm getting this Ginsu. I'm fucking last pick, man.
Okay.
I'm straight up last pick. I'm not investing on Raz.
Okay. Let's do carousel again here. Yeah.
Yep.
Give ourselves like, I don't know, somewhere like 30 seconds ish. I'm about good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I forget who went first on the last one, but I can just go. Said first prio is Rod, any cost. And then I said after that is Zed, any item.
Yep, I
And
got the same
then-
so far.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then I mentioned Vayne with a not bad component, which I guess here would be not tier. Because I guess this is closer to the Vayne. And then Jarvan with a not bad component. Senna with a not bad component. And then last out of after those 5 is sword / frontline component.
Okay. I think mine's basically the same. I said Rod any cost, Zed with any item, then Jarvan. Actually, I threw in Senna as well. If you said
Yeah.
Senna. With
Yes.
I said with a carry item, not a tank item. So specifically sword glove, and then after that would just be sword and glove, then belt and vest for anti-heal component. But belt
I think
vest
tank
would be
items aren't
last.
bad. I think tank items aren't that bad here. We can use 2 still, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're great.
I mean, you specifically only want some fire, right? Like, because otherwise, we're also. I guess you could go red buff on Senna later. I didn't.
Yeah, you can always red buff
go...
the Senna or the Zed. You can always red buff the Senna or the Zed. I don't think you are like. I guess I could see it. Like your Jarvan already has 1 utility, so it's kind of nice to just do double utility Jarvan. But I don't think it's that bad either to go. What would be the worst? I think there doesn't even it would be even cloak is fine for a Zed, right? So I actually don't think there's even really a bad component. Now that it's just tier, maybe is the worst one.
Yeah, especially since we have no tiers drop so far, so the odds of getting multiple tiers is actually higher.
But it's not even that bad because blue buff Zed is a good item.
Oh,
so like
right.
it's actually really hard to get griefed on components. Which makes you think you just take Vayne, Jarvan, or Senna regardless of the component. After of course Rod, any cost, and Zed, any item.
Yeah.
Cool. We didn't mention Pan or Spat, but I think that's because neither are good anyway.
And honestly, Anima is probably the same strength.
Okay, let's
So honestly,
see.
bro, who the fuck?
So you
We're
would have
surprised
taken
that-
Pan first carousel, but not second carousel?
No, because we don't have cloak, right? Like on first carousel we had cloak. Oh, we had open cloak.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, whereas here there's no cloak. It's like there's no guarantee we even get to complete Slayer for a long time. We're also last pick, right?
Yeah.
And so we may not even get cloak on the next carousel. So then that pad is just sitting the whole game.
Yeah.
So here, based on our thoughts, we'd take a glove, right, on Vayne as first pick, I think. Or no, we said Raw. Brand, which we're not
No
going to
way,
get.
yeah.
And then it would be and then it's Vayne. And then after that, we said
It's a
like
sword, glove,
one of the
bow.
swords or the bow. Yeah. So either probably the 4-cost
Rod?
bow, right?
It's on, bro. It's on a fucking brand, man. Fuck you. Okay, so fuck you.
So now Vayne, yeah, is what he said.
Yeah.
All right,
Huh?
fine. At least I can finish BT.
Huh?
I'm just gonna BT.
I'm surprised he wants to finish BT. I mean,
With no Zed?
yeah, it's a little surprising to me. I mean, BT Jarvan's not bad. To be fair, he didn't even have the choice for Vayne, but it looks like he was. It's hard to say because sometimes these streamers will fake going for something really late because they know if they really reveal what they want, they especially Soju, he can get griefed. So it's hard to fully say if he didn't even want the Vayne. I would have guessed he didn't based on how it looks, but I would have preferred Vayne here.
Wait, he
And
could
I
have
think
gotten
you
the
were
Vayne.
All right, it's fine.
Oh,
At least I
no,
can
okay.
finish BT. If
Oh,
we
he
go
couldn't.
one
The
cost,
guy
I'm
took
just
it.
gonna-
Okay.
Okay, so where the fuck? 2 more
Okay.
rows.
So now let's do items.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's assume we're not going to drop any more than like 4 components. Do we want to do 4 at
Okay.
like somewhere between 3 and 4 components?
Yeah, 4 components seems average, right?
Yeah. Okay. We'll give ourselves about a minute. Yeah.
Yep.
Minute or minute 30. I'll just do like minute 28. All right. It's started. Okay.
Alright, so I said ideally if we drop a rod, that's gonna be Rage Blade. If we
Mhm.
I guess I didn't even write down the scenario if we don't hit Rage Blade, but I said anti-heal after that. So if we don't hit anti-heal, keep at least an anti-heal component open, which odds are we don't drop 2 rods, so that's more likely to be bow, vest, belt. So I was also thinking
Mhm.
no tank items unless it is vest, belt. Basically, Sunfire should be the only tank item I would prioritize unless it's like literally a ton of tank items. And if
Yeah.
we, but aside from that, it's basically more damage items. Specifically for Senna, unless we are dropped a bunch of tank items, in which case I would prioritize itemizing Zed over Senna because we are so far away from Z3, which would still probably be damage, but I think it would be awkward if we get 2 more damage items for Senna and then only have like 1 item for Zed. So I think that's like kind of high level. I was thinking.
Interesting how we kind of differed in our the way I answered it is I said if Rod then Rage Blade, and then my priorities were worrying about like not getting item swaps off in time, and so what my prios for what I was thinking over moving IE off Vayne is super high priority in my mind because
Mm-hmm.
IE is like a dead eye, nearly dead. It's possible IE is bugged on Vayne, and I wouldn't be willing to go into stage 4 with IE on Vayne. Like I'm willing to like swap everything around just to have not IE Vayne. And then next prio for me is 3-item Vayne, first and foremost. And then leftover, not having IE not be considered an item on Vayne. And then leftovers on Senna. And then I said, if excess frontline components, then I would probably move Even Shroud off of J4 and also potentially the BT off of J4. Because then, like, if I drop like belt, then I guess I'll Warmogs, double Warmogs, adaptive to Jarvan, and then my Even Shroud is just off, and that's sort of what I would and I would hope that would help me like not stumble on my turn.
I feel like the tricky part is if you. I guess it really depends on what components drop. Ideally, if you get like Rage Blade, or Rage Blade Runons or something for Vayne, then that is pretty obvious. Though, if we are dropped like, let's say, a bunch of tank components, I feel like we are so close to Vayne 3, or even let's just say we do a little roll down on 4-1 and hit Senna 2, but like we have 7 veins or 8 veins, like we're eventually going to want to move the items back from Senna to Vayne anyway, even if they're suboptimal, right?
Oh, not IE. I think regardless, you don't want IE on Vayne. Like I would want to go into stage 4 with like I would be down for like Rage Blade DB Vayne, but I'm just never down for IE Vayne. And I don't know if have you seen the stats for this unit on IE? I feel like
No, I
this
haven't.
item is just like not at all. I can pull it up really quickly, but from what I remember, this item is completely like not an item. Items. Yeah. I can. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
It's like a
Oh.
whole nother level of bad.
Okay, that almost certainly is bugged. Seems like.
Yeah, with high odds it's bugged or who knows what. But for me, that is the highest prio here. Like, if I go load into stage 4, I lose every round with IE and Vayne. But if you didn't know that, now you know. But then that would be my highest prio, and then after that, I can see there being like some slight optimizations between items. Like Runans is better on Senna maybe to some degree. DB is also better on Senna because she has higher base damage.
So you're
But
willing to move IE off and just have 2-item Vayne if you don't get good components and like wait for stage 4 carousel? Or
no. I would do
just move
I
DB and like whatever third item?
I would be 0. I think it'd be the least desirable outcome, but I would be willing to go Rage Blade DB Vayne, and then I'd be 1 remover left, which is annoying as hell. But that's what I would do.
Okay, so you're willing to be at 0 removers going into stage 4 with the BT stuck on Jarvan?
I wouldn't be 0, right? I'd be 1 because I'd use 2 and then I get 1
Oh,
more.
we got 3. Okay, yeah. It's that.
Yeah, yeah. But the order that I listed is first, like obviously Rageblade, and then moving IE off Vayne is second, and then 3-item Vayne is next after that, which you already are guaranteed to have, right? Assuming this bow turns into any item. Then you have the bow item and the double DB on Vayne, which is the least desirable option, as I mentioned, but then it's still what I would do. And then I basically have a plan for the excess frontline components, and then the what to do with the Vayne items.
Okay.
Cool. Let's see, just in general, like how our plan sort of holds up based on his drops. Our plans.
One roll. Fuck it.
What was he trying to roll for?
I don't even know. I mean, I assume this always goes on. We didn't plan around this. Not that I don't think it matters that much, but we just we didn't plan around what to roll either.
Hacked.
But it sort of factors into what you're saying, I guess, to some degree, right? Where actually we potentially could plan around this more, right?
Yeah, that you just want greed for Rod at this point if you don't get Rod, right?
Yeah, I think if you don't get Rod, you just roll them until yeah, I think you'd be willing to roll for a long time because we're at 84 HP.
Oh, attack speed. Oh. Rod? Rod? Bro. What?
Let's just see what it rolls into the next turn, and then we can
he didn't roll it. Wait, he did. Oh, okay, he did.
Did he move it?
Rod?
I guess he.
Okay, he did.
He
Okay.
moved it.
Rod? Bro.
So from what we are saying,
yeah. So this is the real shit scenario.
No Rod. Oh, this is hard. I think my plan kind of falls apart because I was saying I would 3-item the Vayne, and there's not really even a 3-item Vayne here. It would be like QSS, right? It would be like if you're to truly follow what I was saying, it'd be QSS, DB, DB, Vayne, and then eventually you have to use another remover to put the Rageblade on the Vayne. What did you mention here? You'd want to do? How does your plan fit into what here?
I said Rageblade, then anti-heal, so I would keep that belt for anti-heal, and then 2 more damage items for Senna. What I said.
So I guess you'd slam the. Would you slam QSS
yeah.
Senna here? You slam QSS and Senna here. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
And then eventually QSS BT Zed, I guess.
I think what I would do is I would QSS the Senna, and then I would IE the Senna. I would swap the DB, but because now you're also getting glove value out of the IE, and it also fits the like you're not IE on Vayne, as I was saying. But I didn't have that in my planning, and then I'd be one remover left, which is I think is fine.
Oh,
let's see what he does with the items.
What?
I assume he goes. Oh, he can also go guard. Yeah, it's probably QSS because you want the
I don't get it.
You want the anti-heal with belt.
I mean, I just wait until this is Rod and this is half Morello, and that's my board. And my items are actually good.
Half Morello. He prefers Morello over Sunfire. I guess he wants Rod anyway. Or
it just 3 items everything, right? If 3 items the Senna, 3 items the. If you just do it all as that, it's 3 item everything.
Okay, the Sunfire is way more likely because the moment you get Rod, you're slamming Rageblade first.
Oh, I don't think I but you're also not slamming Sunfire, right? You're like, if you get chained, are you making Sunfire? I feel like no.
Oh, I feel like I would, because we're gonna move BT off the Jarvan anyway, right? You're gonna sit there and wait for the Rod.
Like
we need 2 Rods.
But I feel like 1 BTZ doesn't even do anything. I think at that point we'd be 1 BTZ, 3 item here, 2 item here. I feel like it just seems kind of whatever.
What stats does Morello give? It's mainly attack speed, right? Like, does it really help Senna that much? 10 AS.
Not really, I guess. Not really. No, not really. I guess you could argue that, yeah, it's not really a 3rd item on her.
Like, if anything, it's a better 3rd item Jarvan than it is a 3rd item Senna, I feel like.
Morello is a better 3rd item Jarvan than it is. I could see it, I guess. I could see it. Yeah, maybe I'm off on that. I had to think about it a bit more. Should we do augment?
Yeah.
Okay, we look at his board here.
I mean, I just
like this. Okay. Starting the timer now. All right.
Go
I feel like I
first.
didn't get that. I feel like I didn't get that far. I forget who's going. Shall I go?
Yeah.
I forget it already. So my first prio is an HP scaling combat to abuse investment strategy. So similar to last time, but now this is my first prio because our item situation is sort of like not the worst anymore. And then I said damage combat. So like LTP would be a good pick. I didn't get to list any others and any really, so I wasn't able to think as far. Second prio would be econ. I'm still definitely willing to take any of the econ ones. Think fast probably being the best. I think fast is probably the highest prio, but then think fast would be really good. I think prismatic ticket is still fine here, and then still good here, and then obviously heroic grab bag fits that definition. And then I said not items. Like I'm willing to take basically no item augments. I think not the Zeke's augment. It's not very good for us. Not call to chaos because sometimes I'll stumble on that and waste time. So that one to me is like this is just a no here, just because it doesn't like excess items not good. Emblems not that great. Getting XP not that good, not pretty bad. So not call to chaos, and then probably blistering strikes I'm willing to take as well because then it frees up my itemization where I can just go real tank item and then just put carry items on Zed, and I have to worry about making utility.
Yeah, I think I'm basically same. I said gold roughly equal to combat and items like lowest prio. I would definitely still take heroic grab bag. Like I kind of feel like gold is equivalent to combat in the sense that we still need to hit the 3 stars, and if we can hit the 3 stars and still have some semblance of gold, then that will translate to combat in the HP of the board. So like actually a combo one that came up in my head was health is wealth. And I'm kind of cheating too. I was pulling up an augment list while I was doing this.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know if you're doing that.
I have not been. Maybe it's. I guess I could see you doing it. Could be useful as well. I guess if you happen to use that during the game anyway, then I think it's fine. It's just I think recreating the environment you would have when in the game could be useful. But I mean, you can always have the augment list up during a game anyway. So I think it's fair game in that scenario.
I think health as wealth actually makes a lot of sense here because you can get the gold pretty quickly from Slayer healing value, right? And it gives you, I guess it's diminishing returns on Slayer like healing
I actually
value,
don't know if
but
it's that good because isn't it that it's actually anti-synergistic with your augment? Because your augment already gives you effect. It just gives you more like it doesn't scale. Right? I mean, it's not anti-synergistic, but it's linear with investment strategy.
right. Yeah, I guess the main thing is it's like 15 gold. And so I'm still thinking that that gold value is translates to combat later. So it's like some combo of the two.
Oh, gotcha. I feel like I only really like combat that truly like helps scale with your first one.
I see.
I'm trying to think what other combat doesn't really scale with investment strat. But most healing stuff I feel like I wouldn't like because it's just linearly additive with what you already have, and then
Yeah. I think
the second augment is also combat, right? The second augment is items, and so to scale that you'd want. I guess you could argue that your healing scales off of the damage, the swords that you get.
yeah. The
But it's kind
last
of additive as well with Slayer.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And then the last combat I had was cyber implants since we have a lot more swords.
Oh, I think that could be good. Yeah, I didn't mention that one actually. I think cyber, yeah, cyber AD could be good here. I think a bulk is probably not, right, because it's just additive
Mhm.
with your investment strategy HP. Um,
Yeah, I think
would you
that
take
covered
blistering?
everything. What was that?
Would you take would you take blistering strikes?
I did not include blistering strikes, but uh I feel like that belt basically needs to be anti-heal unless the only other option is Sterex, right? So
Oh, really? Isn't Warmogs and J4 quite good? Or Redemption? Redemption is BIS actually. Isn't Redemption's probably the best item you can make here with an investment strategy?
yeah. Okay. I guess the other thing is we're like so far away from Jarvan 3. Well, I guess that could be argument to just make blistering too.
Probably. Oh, you're saying that I don't think Redemption drops that much in value if you don't Jarvan 3 soon because it's the HP is going to approach Jarvan 3 HP anyway with the investment strat.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I don't know if I agree with it. It's I guess it depends on how these fights go, but I don't know if I fully agree that that econ is equivalent to combat here because we're mostly because of our HP. I feel like our HP allows us to play stage 4 kind of greedy.
Mhm.
And if we take non-combat, I feel like our cap drops a lot because we're not really multiplying our investment strat anymore with anything, right? Our combat augments are literally just investment strat and swords. I feel like it just doesn't sound like a true like insane strong setup. Whereas if you tell me like investment strat plus swords plus bulky buddies or plus some insane combat, it's like you win the game even without hitting your 3 stars. In some like maybe not truly, but like I can envision getting to a really strong setup. And so given our HP is 84 HP, I'm kind of down to greed not taking econ here, and you just like take some losses this stage, and then if you hit, you win. Basically, would be my thought. Whereas I think if you take econ, you can hit and still not even win because you don't have insane setup.
I guess let's say we have the option of either heroic grab bag or let's say something like I don't know, blistering. Well, I guess
Oh,
blistering is
that's
silver,
not an
but
option. Yeah, it would
like
only for me would be like a scaling combat.
like cyber implants, I guess. Like if you are able to hit with let's say 40 more gold, like how much does that translate into more HP compared to if you just rolled it all down but have a better combat augment?
Oh, but I feel like we already. I feel like well, more HP is nice. I don't view the delta between having a fuck ton of HP and an insane fuck ton of HP being that insane. Like, I guess if we're investment strategy but lost some value stage 4 versus an investment strategy and did not lose value on stage 4, I feel like that gap it exists, but in my mind, it's not like massive. Because
What is it?
that in my mind, that's like the difference of like a silver augment.
It's 7 HP per 10 gold, right? Per interest.
Yeah.
So that's 35 times, let's say, a whole round.
Let's say you lose let's say you have to dip to 20 on 4-2 instead of staying 50, right? Because you didn't take let's just say like you end up dipping and losing like the equivalent of that. Where you have to dip to 20 on 4-2, and then if you take econ, you can just stay 50 for forever, basically. You would lose, let's say you'd probably be 20 into 30 into 40 into 50, right?
Yeah.
So then you would lose 3 interest, 2 interest, 1 interest. Isn't that it?
That's is,
3 interest, 2 interest, 1 interest. So it's just 6. 6 times 7. So just isn't it just 42 HP whole board?
how did you get to the assumption that you would stop at 20? Like,
Oh, I'm just giving I'm just throwing out a random number.
oh,
Like,
okay.
I guess so. If you have to drop to 0, let's say they dip to 0, that would be maybe an even more worthwhile like argument. I guess if you're saying it's like a fuck ton of econ delta.
Like heroic grab bag plus would be worth 9 gold itself, and then maybe like 30 gold for the value of the dupes.
Okay, so that's like a 40 gold difference.
And then also like you probably preserve. Well, I don't know if you preserve more HP. I guess I think you would probably use it on Vein 3 like immediately, right? Like all you would need to do is roll once. Well, I guess that would be part of the question, right? Will we use it on Vein 3 right away to just like be able to preserve HP and save and like not lose that much life while staying above 50?
I feel like we're guaranteed weak already though. Like even with Vein 3, I feel like we lose every round because we don't have Rage Blade.
Okay, so the analysis would be different if we had Rage Blade or not. Yeah, I agree with that.
To some extent, yeah, because like the dupes can actually.
We could just do QSS double DB for now.
I still feel like that would lose the most like 4-cost boards that are online in my opinion. Yeah, it's just like this Vayne unit is like not as insane anymore, such that even at 3-star, you fight like any brand 2 board, you lost. You fight any Vex 2 board.
How much HP do we think it saves like across the stage?
Oh, if you hit a quick Vayne 3.
Yeah, like basically we would just need to roll like let's say 10 gold, something like that.
I guess I don't think HP is that. But when my setup is investment strategy, swords, like triple combat, I feel like HP barely matters in my mind because you're just gonna win. Like unless this lobby is so, there's someone that's like guaranteed winning out. In my mind, I would look at these combat augments and be like, 84 HP with investment strat is such a high roll that I'm already willing to be like, okay, let me just take like Spirit. If I take Spirit Link, I already won. Like if Spirit Link, I'm basically 50-50ing my game on like I win the game if I hit everything, or I like go 5th. And I feel like that AVP is so insanely good. Versus I think Heroic Grab Bag, my cap sounds like kind of, it's like whatever.
Yeah, okay. I agree with Bulky and Spirit Link because it scales so well with investment strat.
Yeah, I think I would
like
agree with
mid-tier like combat augments.
Oh yeah, I think I would take Heroic Grab Bag. I think we're on the same page ultimately. I would take Heroic Grab Bag over Implants. I think Implants is like it's also additive, right?
Yeah,
Implants doesn't scale with anything here. I guess I'm trying to think what would even scale with these. It's like the crit, I guess scales with your AD, but I don't think I would even take that because crit's not good in any of these units except for Zed.
Oh, I guess one other item that we didn't consider is the one that gives you Rage Blade GS bow. I feel like I would consider taking that.
Rage Blade is that too many items? Let's see. You'd have red buff. You'd have Rage Blade.
Then we can start like we have full item Vayne, Senna, and
Zed. Yeah. I guess that's takeable. I'll be concerned though that it's takeable for sure. I think your cap also is super low because eventually your items are just on no one. Like your stage 5 items are just on literally no one. But I think it would make you really strong right now for sure. I guess you'd be itemizing like Leona next. It's not that bad actually. Yeah, I actually think it's pretty good as I think about it more. You would go your full items everyone right now, and then you'd finish off like Z items on 4-7, and you'd have a bit of excess, and then you're itemizing Leona next.
Yeah, and it lets you stabilize a lot more with Senna 2 versus right now we're like kind of just in limbo with this floating hacked component.
Yeah, it'll save you HP for sure in these next 3 rounds, especially I think, because it guarantees your 3 item like carry. Your Vayne. Yeah. Cool. Be good to see.
Yep.
How the augments look here.
Get a prediction right.
And that's my board.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see what we miss. I guarantee there's gonna be something like, oh fuck, why didn't we think of that? But... Okay. Spear's Will, we didn't think. I don't think I'll take that though. That's under the category of like mid combat for what we were both saying.
Rod.
Crowns.
Yeah,
we didn't. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If the whole lobby is AD, actually, I'm willing, but I don't think because 8 armor is pretty good on your board. That it actually technically is a scaling augment.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But
okay.
I don't think you can,
On that front, like we didn't think about what was it? Like the silver augment that gives you like more armor MR.
line up.
Yeah.
Oh, I would take that for sure. I think. Yeah, I guess I'd be cheating and saying that okay, that counts as a scaling HP scaling augment because I didn't mention that augment in particular. But yeah, it is I guess it's not technically HP. It's EHP scaling, I guess. But yeah, I think I'd be definitely willing to take lineup. Never Spears will.
I feel like you'd be more willing to take crowns if
he's looking. He's looking. He's checking if people are AD.
And if you didn't have the hack component.
Yeah. I'm still down if there are a lot of AD, but I don't think in this meta there aren't really.
AP, AD, AP.
You can't take it.
AD. Bro, fuck you, man. What?
Oh. I hope he rolls heroic here. No, the thing is, I think that's not even true because you said you would take this as well, right?
Yeah.
You would take this as well over her. You would take this over anything, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, especially with investment strategy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm holding that.
I mean, he already knows he won. I'm pretty sure you don't miss your items here. You hit your units, you already won the game. Like, how can you lose with this setup?
I might hit Zed as well.
And then let's do carousel.
Yeah. Should have just removed the bowing.
Carousel is gonna be. We may as well do it. Like, give ourselves like 20 seconds to do it. It's obviously Rod over anything, and then. Okay.
Okay. I think my turn.
Yeah.
I said Rod, then Zed, then anti-heal. Well, which is really just Vest left because if we have Rod, it'd be Rageblade. And I said Vayne, and then Sword Bow, like basically some damage item that will finish Senna's third item.
Yeah, I had someone actually neglected to mention Vayne or J4 or Senna. I don't know why. I mentioned Zed, but I didn't mention those guys. So it's another hole again. You also didn't mention Senna or J4. I don't know how important they are at this point. Vayne is the most important easily.
Yeah.
I think in terms of gold, because we have 0 econ, I actually think all of them are very, very much worth considering. Like it's definitely Senna or J4 over a 5 cost. Like if they have the same component, like a sword on J4, a sword on Renekton, I think you take the sword J4.
Would you take a tank component over on a J4 or Senna over like a damage component?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so it'd be Senna J4 last on my like.
Yeah, I actually had Rod over anything, and then I had Chain a second, and then Zed any item, and then offensive component. I don't know whether that's correct necessarily over what you're saying. You said Rod over anything, and then Zed, and then Chain. But yeah, it's just how I listed it. But
yeah,
I think both of us neglect. You mentioned Vayne. I neglected to mention Vayne. We both neglected to mention the 3 costs. But I think it's just worth noting. It's a pattern now, right? We didn't mention 3 costs here. We also didn't really mention Senna on stage 2 carousel.
Yeah, and my thought process on the Zed is that like we're probably way closer to hitting Z2 over Senna 3, right? And we have the BT.
Oh, I think Zed is super important. I agree with that Zed is more important than the 3 costs. But I think the 3 costs, because we have no gold augment, no econ augment, is still like really, really, really good. With an offensive, of course. Okay. But like, I just more so that I didn't mention it. So then I may like lose a second in thinking about, Renekton or Aurora versus with an offensive component. Like let's say Renekton with bow or sword versus like Senna with glove. It's like it's the same component basically. We should be taking the Senna there.
Right? We're not playing like a 5 cost until 8 after we roll all our 3 stars anyway, right? Like.
Oh, I'm mentioning the 5 cost in terms of being.
Just more gold value. Okay.
Higher gold value. And if I'm not looking out for a Senna or a J4 before carousel, that's how I miss a J. The only way you miss a Senna or a J4 is they're not top of mind.
Yeah.
If they are top of mind, you will literally never miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at least for me, it was not top of mind. Senna nor J4 was top. Like I had Z top of mind, which is good, but still, I should be able to go deeper than just Z. Cool. You can see how this carousel went.
Three-cost rod on
There's a
J4.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's rod over everything. It happens to be in a J4. He doesn't. Oh, he doesn't get it again. So now we said vest. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll get
we
that.
said you said that. I said just chain vest. I assume he takes chain. Yeah. He's still no rod. Oh wait. Oh, it rolled into a rod. And then I would already swap these. The DV, the IE. I don't know how much he knows the stats, but on this, maybe he knows it and just doesn't think it's worth it. It's also possible.
I was gonna. I mean, I can also just. It's actually good now. I have more brands.
But yeah, look at the because of this item.
Also the Q.
Look at the DPS. 2 items Senna versus IE Vayne. The 2 items Senna is doing with QSS is doing more because this IE doesn't do anything on this unit.
Oh, you know what? It's probably similar to those bugs with IE in the past where it like just prevents him from being able to crit. Period. That's actually a lot of negative value.
Oh, yeah, it actually reverses the DPS. Yeah, I've heard people believe that could be the issue with Vayne. I don't know.
Good.
It's very possible.
Okay.
So then also
we have
Piercing Lotus is probably really bad on this too.
Yeah, because crit is not even good on either Vayne or Senna. Yeah.
Nice
okay. We have next round coming up, which is a big one for sure. I don't think it's that big because this scenario the items are pretty fixed.
It's usually just an item anvil, right? Oh wait, no. End of stage 4. Sorry. We get like usually it's like 2 components.
Two components and anvil. Yeah. Shall we? Yeah, take like a minute here.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
I said another Rage Blade is highest prio. And then if we don't get that, another backline damage item is prio. Because we're right now like a 5. In fact, we're technically only 4 if you consider IE as a Z item, which is because it's shit on both Senna and Vayne. And then I said after that, I must move. It's just similar to what I said on stage 3. Must move IE off of Vayne, ideally onto Z. Onto Senna is slightly is also like is better still than on Vayne. And then I said if extra tank item, if extra tank component, then I'm willing to go for Sterax. If I drop an extra like belt off the anvil, then belt. If it's a belt, then it's Sterax is what I'm wanting to make. If it's a chain, then I'm down for Eon. If it's a cloak, I'm probably down for QSS on like Zed. And if it's a tier, because I feel like these are all things that'll trip me up if I drop like tank items. And if it's a tier, then like blue buff Zed or Hodge Zed is like not the worst. And then if it's a full extra tank item for whatever reason, then we could even shroud the Leona. And like full tank the Jarvan is what I was thinking. I don't think that's quite likely because that also like there's also a BT on this Jarvan, but that was sort of my thinking to like try to avoid tripping up on decisions.
Okay, I missed the extra tank component scenarios. If we have 3 item like extra tank item, then we want the Sunfire off the main tank for the reason that we've discussed before, where Sunfire can like.
Yeah, so the issue is that the Sunfire's already on the Leona, so I'd be a little like you'd have to like double bounce it. You'd have to like remove the Leona and then put the even shroud onto the put the Sunfire onto the. Oh wait, no, you're saying you're leaving Sunfire on the off tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you're right. It would be well, no, I was saying that Sunfire's already on the Leona, right? And so potentially we would.
I think you were saying you would move the even shroud to the off tank, or maybe I misinterpreted.
Yeah, because Sunfire's already on the off tank, right? And then I would do BT adaptive tank item on Jarvan.
Oh, okay. I guess part of this depends on like which one you're closer to hitting, because aren't your odds of like your odds of hitting J4? I guess we need a scout, but your odds of hitting Jarvan 3 are not that far off from hitting Leona 2. I feel like it really depends, because there could be more Leonas taken out of the pool as well. And then we only have 3. Well, I guess we'll have 4
the thing is, if the Sunfire is already on Leona, and if you want to turn the J4 into the off tank, it's really hard, right? How would you do that? Or if you want to turn J4 into the off tank, you'd have to like double remover.
I guess I'm saying I would keep J4 as the main tank, because like let's say we remove her everything and try to have Leona be the main tank. I think we run out of removers if we hit Jarvan 3, right?
Oh, I guess that's what I'm saying, is that if I want Jarvan as the main tank and I drop an extra tank, like full tank item, my itemization would be BT adaptive third tank item. And Sunfire and even Shroud are on the Leona.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not willing to just split BT as a one-off item yet on Zed. I'd rather just have like 3-item Jarvan with BT, and then Zed just be whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think my take was third priority is 3rd item for Vayne, so it'd be probably Rageblade, DB, and either Rageblade, Runons, or GS. Then 3rd damage item for Senna. Ideally, if we do a roll down and we can find Zed, then we would just move QSS, i.e. BT all to Z1. And I said Sunfire adaptive even shroud on J4, but I did not include the analysis of if we got like a full extra tank item. But I would probably do. I think I would have, assuming we found a Zed, I would have probably just moved BT off, and if we found an extra tank item, I probably would have just done BT Zed. But then I think I agree with you that it makes more sense to just keep the BT on the Jarvan.
Just 3-item, right? Yeah. I think it'd be useful to like try to think more of like what happens in the scenarios where you get fucked and you drop only tank components before the anvil, right? And just so that way when you're popping the anvil, you're not like stuttering, because there's a lot to do, right? This is actually a really important turn, because you potentially have to roll deep on if you hit one off Vayne, you're probably meant to roll until you hit the Vayne, and so you don't really want to stumble on your items. And so if your components that you drop are chain cloak, you already want to know what you're going to do on the anvil, right? Like instantly, which here would be it's either Eon or QSS, right? On Zed, or Rune, or I guess Runan's first. Runan's first, and then QSS, and then Eon potentially. Yeah. Cool. Let's see what happens. Let's see. He's like preemptively rolling to save time. Oh, and to clear his bench, he said. Yeah. He dropped he dropped chain bow. So we're going for, we said 3rd Vayne item, right?
Yeah, so double Rageblade or Runon's GS. Right, GS.
Runon's or GS Vayne. Yeah, I think GS as well. I'm not sure actually if Runon's or GS is better here. I feel like we don't have that much like spread damage, and so I'd be down for Runon's, but I don't think it's that big a difference.
I would assume GS is better for Senna. Is that not true? I guess maybe that's not true.
I think I just really want the IE off. Like the IE has to come off on the Vayne.
Yeah, my main thought process is if let's say for some reason we do a massive roll down and we hit Senna 3 and not Vayne 3, then GS seems to be more of a flexible item.
Oh, I would think because QSS is on the Senna, I would just IE the Senna. because you at least get the glove value. That's what I would think. But
I see.
I don't know if that's wrong because it does like aggregate like more value out of my glove. But you could argue that doesn't optimize the fact that I have Senna 3. I think it's super unlikely, but that could happen, right? We hit Senna 3 before and not Vein 3. But
Yeah, because we have higher odds for 3 costs right now.
it's possible, yeah.
Okay, but
I'm not sure. Actually.
either sword or cloak.
Yeah.
Very close.
I wonder what he goes for. He goes for Runa. I wonder if he doesn't just know if you're taking Runans here, I feel like it's more likely Runans Senna.
No one's going Runans, bro. Fuck Runans, man.
So now he goes IE off. And then GS. Yeah, IE there. That makes sense.
One off of... Should I just send it for Vayne?
And then you chill here, yeah. Cool. Let's just see how the game plays out. I assume this is going to be a really good placement. I can see Carousel, I guess, coming up, right?
For sure.
Yep.
Is that a decision point for us?
I mean, I just need Jarvan 3, Zed 2, Leona 2, and I'm pretty sure I win on the...
Okay, so what will you do here?
For Carousel?
Yeah, I guess we can do another like quickly type out our thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. I forget who's first now. Is it me?
I think so.
Okay. So I wasn't sure how to order a copy of J4 versus an improved Senna item over IE. So I had those look pretty similar. Better Senna item and then a J4 copy. And then basically I would move the IE onto Zed. And there's a lot of removers I want to do here. I'd like move the IE onto Zed, put the better item on Senna, and then I would move the Sunfire onto the J4 and then the BT onto the Zed. And then we still have one remover going to the next round. And then that's 2 items Zed, 3 item everyone else, and then we can 3rd item the Zed. And then I said after that, if I don't get the better Senna item, I would take a Zed item, and then I could move items around that way still, right? Right. I moved just I could move the Sunfire onto J4 and the BT onto the Zed, and then after that I would take a J4 item, and I'd put the BT onto the Zed and put the J4 item on the J4.
Okay. Yeah, I said. Wait, did you say you would take a Zed first?
No, I said an improved Senna item was my first.
Oh, okay. I said I would take a Zed first with any damage item as long as it's not AP. And then I would take a Senna item prio over a Vayne because we are limited on removers. But I would, if need be, I would last prio like another Rageblade or Runon. But ideally, I'd want to get BTQSS IE on the Zed. So agree with you that it would be Senna item prio, move QSS IE eventually over to Zed.
Did you mention
I did not
J4
mention
copy?
J4, so yeah, I missed that one.
I actually didn't mention Vayne item, which is like a good out, right? Like if there's Rageblade only, it actually is a good out because it would burn a bunch of removers, but like it's good. I would you just move the DB right onto Senna, and then you have to do a bunch of bouncing, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's another note again. Now it's 3 strikes, buddy. You're out. You missed I missed J4 a lot as well, but yeah, we can't be missing these 3 cost copies anymore. All right. Shall we look?
Did you not mention Zed in your
copy of Zed? Actually did not mention Zed. Did you mention the copy of Zed in your?
I would prioritize Zed first over anything else as long as it's not a tank item and non-AP.
Oh, a copy of Zed. You prioritize a copy of Zed over anything.
Because I feel like once we hit Zed 2, like it's huge.
I think it'll be huge on stage 6, right? I feel like it's not that huge right now. Is it?
Like,
I feel like
because
two items.
we still need to level up and roll. Like that Zed is worth so much gold.
I guess in that sense, I feel like that's worth a lot of gold. I guess it's just I feel like it doesn't do anything for me right now. But I agree that it is really good. Ultimate, like at the end, I'm not sure how to trade off. Like this item is also such a big spike, right? Like an improved item versus having these shit items on Senna. But maybe the gold from Zed is just worth it. I mean, the fact that you're thinking about it is already just like is good.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get into the habit of doing it. And I think the actual argument is a whole other thing. But
No joke. Pumping up.
okay, why is he losing? Out of
Pretty
curiosity, this guy is super strong as well, I guess.
Pumping up.
Yeah, pumping up and blazing soul, which is abyss. We didn't say this, man.
Oh.
No, how are we missing that?
Yeah.
Bad, very bad. Shame
no
on
one's
us.
gonna
That,
take
that
that.
actually is that's such a big one.
That's actually the
6
best
layers
one.
and an insane spike. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you must take this because like IE on whatever is on Senna is doesn't take prio. Like improving that doesn't take prio over Slayer. I don't think. So we missed end game spat is really important here. We didn't mention. Okay.
Although the moment we see that, we would have I think we both would have been like, "Oh yeah, we have to take that." We just forgot to predict it.
I mean, yes, but it just shows our anticipation kind of sucks.
Yeah.
we're not thinking of the most important spat in our line. Yeah. I wonder if he even takes it, but like just the fact that we're not bringing it up is a big deal. Even if he doesn't take it, right? It's just still minus points. Looks like he doesn't even want it.
Then I kind of want to just level.
Huh? Okay.
He does.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of down to just. I'm down to just first rate it.
I would also be down. I'm not really like. I would just sit here and roll because you're playing for super first, especially now with Slayer.
Sure if I survive.
Yeah.
3. I think there's a Vanguard Marksman. And
what did he say? He's gonna level
and then
or
Street Demon.
Because he could level right here and try to play 6 Slayer right now, right?
Vanguard Marksman,
without hitting J4-3.
Jarvan 3. I think there's a Vanguard Marksman player, but you're making.
Okay, yeah.
Yes or yes.
And he's saying, I think ultimately that like if he hits everything and levels, he will not lose to anyone.
Yeah,
like guaranteed. And he's just arguing based on what he knows of everyone's sports, which is in my mind very likely. Triple insane combat, everything 3-star and 6 Slayer. Like what are you losing to? Like yeah, Slayer is not an S tier comp. That doesn't matter when you have this setup. You will beat everything, including all the S tier lines.
Plus.
Like this guy's board looks. Let's see what it is. It looks pretty strong, right? He's brand 2. I mean, Diego's not the best unit anymore, but like strategist +1. He's Nico 1 though. He's not that strong, I guess.
And he wins. Jarvan 3 or 6 Slayer in. It's like where's the excitement? Where the fuck is the excitement? Everyone else that fight.
He already knows he won the game, right? I assume he loses this right now, and then let's decide on our items here and Anvil. Yeah. I guess it's very similar logic to what we already said, right? Because nothing changed. Yeah. Do we want to do this still? This is basically the same logic as what we argued because he just got a spat. Yeah. So the same thing. Let's just see how this goes. Save time because we're already taking a lot of time. Let's see how this roll down goes. I guess there's an argument of that like the item could change based on if we had Jarvan 3 or not. But
whatever, fuck it.
he greeds another turn, which I think is correct. It's kind of scary though.
Wait, did he take redemption over a damage item? Over IE?
There's no damage. There's no damage item.
IE, right?
Oh, I don't like IE. IE on redemption is. Wait, you would take IE over redemption?
Redemption is really good, but
no, I don't think. I think redemption is like you win. Like this is another like. Okay. In my mind, it's like a -1 placement item.
The Jarvan 3 with
because it's not just Jarvan 3. Right? It's investment strat.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this is like trumps every item in the game period right now by like a wide margin. Probably even a lot of artifacts.
Redemption's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's really good. I can also go.
I feel like he's understating it, but yeah, I mean, okay. Let's see.
Okay, Z2. I can move redemption. I can move.
Oh, we're not. Okay. Oh, how would you do items here if he had Z2?
He had Z2.
Yeah, if he had Z2 like on this rollout or next turn, how would you do the items? This basically planning this ahead would allow you to position, right? Let's say on 6-3 you find Z2 and you weren't ready, you would lose a bunch of time deciding how to do the items. But if you had exactly in your mind what you would do, you could position your board, right?
Oh.
Would you move items? And if so, how?
I'd probably just move BT, like literally just BT. And then redemption on the Jarvan.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do as well. I think that's what I would do. Yeah, BTZ, and then redemption Jarvan. I think Sunfire Z is probably better actually than Sunfire Leona. Yeah, probably BT Sunfire Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I don't do stuff like that enough. But if it was that too, yeah. Although
I mean, because at that point you would be one item, right? Basically, one item, two item, and the game's over, almost over. And Zed also runs around, right? Which is good.
Yeah.
For fire.
I guess if Leona had way more HP, it might be worth it on Leona just because she gets more of the Vanguard value. And the Spirit Link value, and because Sunfire gives more HP as well. And she might survive longer.
I feel like Zed live way longer than Senna than Leona, because Leona gets aggro, she's dead. Whereas Zed keeps dropping aggro again and again and again and keeps healing with the damage he does. I feel like it's just better on Zed. I agree that there is some Vanguard value, but I feel like the benefit to having it on like a key unit, like a 2-star Zed. It also is a 2-star Zed versus 1-star Leona.
But Leona has been around on our board way longer though, right? Like it's gotten way more stacks of investment strategy.
Oh, is that true? I guess looking at the HP bars, it is potentially true. Yeah. Okay, maybe it would last a lot longer and would scales her max HP more.
Redemption to here.
The Sunfire.
1309 versus 19.
He's doing what we're saying, actually. He's doing exactly what we're saying.
Sunfire.
He's saying if I had Z2.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Z2, I can move.
The Leona has 50% more HP than the Zed.
Yeah.
I can move Redemption to here, BT to here, and Sunfire to Zed.
Oh, he's doing what I did. But yeah, I'm gonna say, pointing out, like, I feel like it's very useful to do this already. Right? That way, when you hit it, you already know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Sunfire BT +1 Redemption.
And this guy's doing it while streaming, right? Like he's not even like truly locked in.
Oh, it's fucking.
So I feel like if you're not going through this, you're missing out on a lot of I'm saying this like assuming you post this video just to people in general, right? If you're not doing this, you're missing out on a lot of time saved.
Yeah,
bro, it's just so boring, man.
It's just so boring. I mean, look at what he's beating now. He's fighting Zach 2, Samira 2. I'm just gonna fuck this, like, but I mean, he has such an insane setup.
Yeah.
Caro. I guess we can speed through this because I feel like there are very few things to do now. But I assume we would go
third Zed item.
Yeah, but also the same considerations of like you can select a Senna item and you move that, you can take a Vayne item. It's almost the same thing.
Although we are kind of running out of removers. I don't think it could be a Vayne item anymore, right? Because we do want IE. We want IE. We want
Zed.
We want redemption on Jarvan. We want IE on Zed. So that's already 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, you're right. Vayne item is hard.
How much HP?
We again did not mention Spat. We did not mention Spat.
Oh, we also did mention Leona. Leona here is actually really good.
There's another Ginsu if I want.
Oh, another Slayer emblem.
Is that even that good though? I feel like it's not that good.
It's a +1, but yeah, another item's very strong.
I feel like it's QSSZ, I think.
QSS Leona. Leona 2. I think the Leona 2 is actually good.
QSS and on Leona 2.
Well, another redemption is really good too. What?
I have enough removers for this shit, right?
Yeah. You really taking that?
DB is better than GS.
DB is better than GS. Interesting. So he prefers this on Vayne.
Probably better than DB.
I don't know if I agree with this, but I'm just curious how he does it. He does rage, this.
I'm just gonna roll here.
Sun, there. Oh, he's just planning to leave IE. Okay, that makes sense actually. Yeah. If he's fine with leaving IE here, then it's fine, right? And now he's 3 item, which I think is good.
DB Vayne that bad?
I think it's more so that the double Rage Blade is just so good on this unit.
Mm.
I don't think that it's bad. I think he
Okay.
just views double Rage Blade as being so bis.
Especially
Which
with
I
his
guess,
setup.
yeah, his setup definitely incentivizes insane scaling like this, right?
Still in the game?
Yeah, and I assume it's not even close. Yeah. But yeah, seeing what he got to ultimately, this is also my argument as to why. I mean, yeah, why like stacking more combat is just better than econ, assuming you can get to this like
Yeah.
insane setup, right? But obviously, a mid third combat augment does not enable this style. I think it has to be like the nuts. But I think bulky bodies is similar, not nearly as strong as Spirit Link, but like it's approaching it as well.
Yeah. This final damage chart, by the way, does not support double Rage Blade Vein at the end. I feel like you should prioritize Senna or Zed item more.
It depends how the fight worked out as well, though, right? Like it depends. The fight really like.
I guess you could argue that double Rage Blade like is insurance for a longer fight.
This guy's still in the game?
Because
So I guess you're saying that potentially you could just do like a better Senna item here would improve the damage even more.
yeah, or you would have 3 item, or yeah, 3 like you would have QSS on Oh wait, no, it was DB on instead of a Rage Blade on Vayne, right?
Yeah.
What were our options again? Like, I guess it
QSS is the main one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess
It would be
removing IE off of Senna. On because then Zed would be doing more damage. It'd be swapping IE and DB, right? For Zed and Senna, because you would have had the extra remover.
And then and then the QSS is on Zed, and then the Sunfire is still on Leona, I guess.
Because look at the damage chart at the end. Like Senna and Zed out damaged Vayne by a lot.
Oh, it's fake, right? If you look at it, the Zed and the Senna never get CC'd by Zac, whereas the Vayne gets hit by Zac here.
Oh,
right. Yeah,
that could be an argument for double QSS then from the thing.
Oh, to say that they don't get Zac. Yeah, if you're truly playing around Zac, then I could see it. Like QSS Zed can help you even more because there's also Kabuko, right, which is a lot of CSS. Yeah, which is a lot of CC. Yeah, so then QSS Zed is even better. Unless you believe that you're so sure that the Zed run like here Zed doesn't get CC'd at all because it just jumps out. But yeah, obviously that's a happenstance. But yeah, I think that's the main reason the Vayne DPS didn't look that good.
Okay.
Because it got CC'd. Cool. So any main takeaways from this game? I think there are actually quite a few in terms of how we missed stuff. Main misses in my mind are I can pull up a doc here and write out what I thought, and then also what we both thought together. I thought we missed 3 cost units on our board. Copies of considering copies of 3 cost units on carousel. And then another one is I think I mentioned this one on first Caro, but I neglected it on endgame Caro is Spats.
I think another one that I think we did do for this analysis, but I don't do often enough in game is considering like item removers and then like how to move items around optimally for like across all the units.
Yeah. I feel like I had mentioned that in a lot of mine, but yeah, I think maybe you could do it like considering more how to use removers as PvE approaches, right?
Yeah, and then also for me is like kind of how to cap out with combat augments, like specifically synergistic combat augments.
Oh yeah. I feel like you could like on a couple of those you could have thought of, could have mentioned those more. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. I should have typed stuff out more that I missed, but around augments, I'm sure I missed something. I forget now though. Cool. Yeah, I think these are the main ones, right? For copies of 3 cost units and carousels, spats, pans, how to use removers. Yeah. Any other stuff you wanted to highlight?
For that last pick specifically, I mean, I think we would somewhat be doing it, but especially late game, thinking about how items specifically counter your opponents, so that QSS would make actually a very large difference in the fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. How items encounter opponents. This is the one Soju is doing, which is how he's planning to use his removers when hitting a certain upgrades. Cool. It was kind of time consuming, but do you feel like this was a useful sort of like drill?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Did you want to try and like play a game to try to like ingrain this into your thinking during a game, or do you want to just do another VOD?
Yeah, let's
on
give it
that
a try.
Friday? Okay.